Hi, we're making chapati today and we only need 4 ingredients. That is salt, water, flour, and cooking oil. We also need a rolling pin, a spoon, cooking pot, and a heavy cooking pan. The first thing we're going to do is bring the water to a boil. I'm using 1 cup of water. Once your water has boiled, you can add your salt to it and allow it to dissolve. To our hot salty water, we'll now add our flour a little at a time. And because the water is hot, we're going to start by mixing using our spoon. You can tell when it needs more flour by the way it looks. For instance, right now it's still possible to mix it with a spoon, which means it's still very, very light. The reason I use hot water is that it gives me soft chapatis. So we use hot water to knead it and then let it sit for some time and you mix again. So we just keep doing this. At some point you'll find that the dough has become a little too hard to mix with the spoon, and so this is where you go in with your hands. First you transfer the mixture to the countertop and begin to mix it. Now as you mix it, it becomes firmer and it stops breaking apart, but you keep going at it because it takes quite a while to become ready. Not that it's supposed to be a forever process, but the more time you take while kneading it, the better your chapatis become. Be careful not to add in too much flour. Because that will make your chapatis hard. Keep your dough soft. By now I'm sure you've noticed that I'm using this part of my hand to knead. Remember, the idea is to get to a point where it is so thoroughly mixed that it doesn't break apart. I think that's where we mostly go wrong, because when your dough is not properly mixed up, it breaks apart, it tears, it sticks to your counter. And there you have it. Still breaking apart, as you can see. This is not a ready texture. It needs to be able to pull without breaking. Now you notice I'm adding a little flour at a time. It's still quite sticky. I do, however, recommend that you use gloves if you're doing this for catering purposes. So when that's done, test it again, still breaking. That's because it needs some time to sit. Remember to keep it soft. That's how soft it still is. I feel this is ready. For it to rest, transfer it to a bowl and cover it for a few minutes. 20 minutes will do. This is what we have. Obviously it doesn't rise because we're not using any raising agent for chapati. It has become a little softer than before, which is more of a reason for us to add more flour. But it is more pliable this time. Still using this part of my hand mix it up and knead it. At this point, you're going to roll it out into one long strip, and I'll explain to you why in a few moments. So make sure your countertop is thoroughly dusted. Now I transferred my cooking oil to a bowl because I find them easier to work with since I do not own an oil dispenser. Here is where I roll it out, all of the dough, before I cut it up. After doing that, usually I spread a generous amount of cooking oil onto it. Now clearly there's quite a number of equipment I should have that I still do not. Like at this point, you could use a silicone brush. For me, I don't have it, so I'll use my hands. If you have the patience, however, you could use the spoon. Now, after I've done this, I roll it back within itself like so. What you do is estimate the size of your pan so that each piece, after being rolled out, should be able to comfortably fit in your pan in order for it to cook properly on all sides, especially on the edges. Pinch this end, pinch this other end, and press it down such that the two ends are sort of coming together at the center, like that. So you repeat that for all the pieces you've got. I like doing that because it saves me quite a lot of time, as opposed to rolling each of them one by one. There we have it. Flatten that with your hand as far as it can go. And then gently roll it out. Add flour as you go. And carefully and gently roll it out. Transfer your chapati to the pan and it's heated. It's always important to regulate the heat. If you feel like it is too much, you could always reduce it. And wait for it to start changing color. Give it a few minutes. You notice that parts of it are darkening, and that's what we're waiting for. We're basically pre-cooking it. The importance of pre-cooking it is to stop it from tearing. So wait for the whole piece to become this particular color, and then you can flip it and oil that particular side and do the same to the second side. There we have it. So now it's ready to flip. As soon as you flip it, you can start oiling the top as the second side pre-cooks. By the time you're done oiling the top, I guarantee the second part will be ready. Not cooked, but pre-cooked. So you can flip it and do the same to the other side. Remember, you need a heavy pan to ensure that it cooks evenly, and you need medium heat so that it doesn't burn before it's cooked on the inside. You can constantly check to make sure all the sides are cooked before you turn it. If you notice one particular side is not yet done, you give it more time. Depending on the shade of brown you're after, you can either turn it as soon as it becomes brown, or you give it a little time so that it becomes dark brown. Then you flip it again and basically repeat the process for the second side. checking for the second side as well. Make sure it is cooked evenly on all sides. Give it extra time if it needs time. You notice this side is a deeper shade of brown than this one, so we'll give this particular spot more time after we're done with the second side. In other words, don't be in a hurry to lift it off the pan, because you do not want to feel like you're eating uncooked dough while you're at the table. That side is done, so we give this edge a few more minutes to get a deeper shade of brown. So here are our results. This is how soft they are. This is how easily they tear, and they come in layers. I would also like to show you how I usually serve them. Mostly I fold them into 4, but sometimes this is what I do. I place a knife at the center and cut all the way to the edge, and then I roll them out like this, all the way around. That's one piece. Do the same to the next one. That's another piece. And there we have it. You can serve it with any stew of your choice. Could be green grams like I did, could be bean stew, could be beef stew, or even chicken. Alternatively, you could have it with your tea anytime you fancy. Thanks for watching.